welcome to episode 60 something probably of the Pins and Needles podcast. My name is Zoe. You can find me on Instagram and Ravelry as Pins and Needles UK. And if you check the drop down box below this video, you will find links to everything that I talk about, my Ravelry pages. Please don't click those links if you're struggling with Ravelry at the moment. You'll find links to my Instagram. You'll find links to my Ko-fi account if you would like to support the podcast, and thank you to those who already have. What else will you find? Links to the Cartref Yarn shop and the Knit Tea Retreat website. Now you might be wondering why I'm talking to you in my car. I'm currently sat at traffic lights. That's because my life is 7 kinds of crazy pants at the moment. So the only way I can get a podcast recorded and out to all of you lovely people is if I film it in snatches and take advantage of my drive to work. So I'm ever so sorry, it's going to be a little bit of a choppy podcast, but I've managed to record some out and about snippets and some at work snippets, and I will try and record the other bits later on today, the actual crafty things. So I'm afraid this is my best offering at the moment, for which I hope you will forgive me. What do I want to start with? Let's start with finished objects. First of all, I finished the Opal Adventure socks that I was waving about last time. I don't think I had much left to go. I think I was through the gusset decreases on the second sock, and I cast those off a few days ago and wove in all the ends. I will insert a picture here of the finished pair. I did mean to post them up in Angela's Yarn and Yarn Summer of Socks Cal, but I completely missed it. But anyway, never mind. They were my as requested vanilla sock pattern, which you can find a link to my Ravelry designer store down below. So it's just a top down heel flap and gusset job, and I did do that rounded toe, which I quite enjoyed. And my sock needles are now currently empty, which is not a happy state of affairs. So I need to think about the next pair. My dad's already had one pair of socks this year. I gave them to him for his birthday back in summer. But he really does love socks, so I'm just wondering if I've got enough time to crank out another pair of UK size 11 man socks for Christmas. So maybe I'll have a dig through my stash. I have also got a pattern. Kate Jones of the Bakery Bears podcast does lovely sock patterns, and she recently it's probably 5 months ago now, released a lovely sock pattern, Dowager Countess Tea and Cake or something like that. Again, I'll try and find a picture to put it up here. And I bought that pattern, and it's printed out waiting for me to cast it on, so maybe I'll go for that one instead. But yes, empty sock needles, never a good idea. Moving on to my second finished object, and this is one that you've never seen as a work in progress. If you follow me on Instagram, I think you'll have seen 1 or 2 pictures of it. But I have finished knitting the Crofthoose hat, which is a design by Ella Gordon. She's a Shetland-based knitwear designer, and the Crofthoose hat pattern was the Shetland Wool Week hat, I think from 2016. That seems to ring a bell. I've got a copy of the Wool Week annual, which, if I remember later, I'll try and show you a bit of. But the Shetland Wool Week hats, there's a new pattern every year, and they're always published for free. And I think they're free for at least half of that year, and so currently the Crofthoose hat pattern is a paid for pattern. There's also a matching mitts pattern, and I ended up with a copy of the annual which I bought, which includes that pattern, and I also picked up a free leaflet copy of the pattern, I think from Wonderwool, Wales. I knitted the hat in Jamieson and Smith 2-ply jumperweight, which is like a classic woolen spun 100% Shetland yarn. The colour, it doesn't have a colourway name, each of the colours just has a number, which I will include in the drop down box down below. It's one of the recommended colourway combinations, and it's my first time knitting with that yarn, and I absolutely loved it, Quite a fine fingering weight yarn, super floofy, and the brown and the green and the blue that I used are all a blend. So if you look closely at the yarn, you can see that the brown has got flecks of red and blue and gold in it, and they're just beautiful. The cream and the oatmeal I think are undyed natural shades, so they're a consistent colour, but the other three are a mix. I knit it exactly as the pattern suggested. I didn't do a gauge swatch because I thought, well, if it comes out a bit big, I'll block it over a dinner plate and make it a tam. But the fit came out really well. I knit it on fixed circulars and then switched to double points for the crown decreases, which form a beautiful sort of star pattern. And again, I'll pop a picture up so you can see. I took a few quick pictures in the back garden this morning before I left to come and drive to work. The only problem I had with it was my issue, and you're changing colours quite frequently, and it's not worth carrying the yarn up the inside of the hat terribly often. And where my round finished and started, I started to get quite a gap. I think you start the rounds certainly on the brim with a pearl stitch, which is always a little looser. And particularly when I got to the decreases, because you were often only using one colour for sort of in 2 rows and then cutting it and starting the next. In the end, I managed to, when I cast the hat off, I used my tapestry needle and I just sort of pulled the stitch legs through a bit to reduce the gapping, and for a couple of spots, again in the crown decreases, I actually did some duplicate stitch or Swiss darning, just so I sort of created a couple of stitches over that gap just to fill in the space so it looked a bit better. And then of course blocking is absolute magic, and I seem to remember that one of the snippets I've got was of me giving the hat a soak, so I will pop that in for you here. Yes, I thoroughly enjoyed knitting it, and the Shetland Wool Week annual that I've got also includes the mitts pattern, so I cast on some of those, the first one of those yesterday. My only problem is I don't have enough of the brown colour. The hat only needs 1 ball, and I had about half a ball left, but the mitts pattern says that I need 2 balls of that shade, and I've got less than 1. I did think about rearranging the colours to have a different colour for the ribbing, but actually I just want the brown. I'd really like a matching set, so I'll have green and blue houses across the band at the back of the hand for the colourwork bit, and then brown as the main colour. So I'll have to get myself another ball of that. The other thing, well, that one modification I'm planning on making is the pattern calls for an afterthought thumb, and I really don't like afterthought thumbs. It just doesn't fit my hand. I like a proper thumb gusset, so I'm going to have to modify the pattern to do a full-on thumb gusset, which again I'll need even more yarn for, so I'm really going to have to order at least another ball. But that's fine, I don't mind. I think afterthought thumbs are very common in sort of Scandinavian mitten patterns. It's where you don't increase stitches for a thumb gusset. You just knit a few stitches of waste yarn into a section of the palm, and then later on you pick those out and knit a thumb from there. But that means you have no extra fabric for the meaty part of your thumb, and that really doesn't work well with me. But anyway, I'll let you know how I get on with that. I think I've managed maybe 4 rows of the first cuff, so there's really nothing to show you anyway. So that's sort of finished objects sliding into works in progress. And that's really the only thing I've got on my needles at the moment, that little tiny start of a mitt pattern. I've got another hat project I want to cast on, but I haven't had a chance to dig the yarn out yet from my stash. Like I said, crazy busy with work, and I just haven't had a moment to dig through all of that. I have been doing a little bit of my embroidery as well. I haven't managed to do it every morning, but I've done a little bit more. If I have the time, I'll take a picture and stick it up here. But I'm trundling along quite nicely. I've just finished a little section of straight stitch, and I think I will go back to do some more satin stitch when I get back to it this weekend. I really would like it to have it done for Christmas. So yeah, I think that's kind of it for knitting content, which I realise is not great, but such is my crafting life at the moment. Again, I managed a little bit of spinning. I made a start on the 3rd single of my Owl About Yarn Polworth braid of fibre in the colourway Knitting with Friends. So I shall continue spinning on with that. In life update stuff, work is incredibly busy. 2 of my members of staff are away on holiday at the moment. I felt a bit sorry for them, really. They'd saved up for ages and booked a trip of the lifetime to go to the States. I think they were going to go to Los Angeles, Las Vegas, I can't remember. But of course, with the whole COVID thing, that didn't happen. So they've gone abroad in Europe instead, which means that, yeah, I'm working like the absolute clappers, covering shifts and things. The gym is fairly busy, which is good. Students are starting to come back. We weren't too sure how that was going to go because a lot of the universities are going online, and that meant that perhaps students would stay and study from home rather than move back to Cardiff for the academic year. the next couple of weeks will tell. I've picked up a few more personal training clients, which is nice. They're all really fun to train. Jaqueline and I went for a little bit of a walk the other day. I was on an early shift. I was at work for about 7:15 in the morning, and I got home about 5, and I just had a desperate need to go out and get some fresh air. So I scooped up Jim the dog and Jaqueline, and we went for a walk along the front. So I'll put that footage in for you here. The world's choppiest podcast. Number 1, here's Max.
Hello.
And number 2, I haven't really got an acquisitions section with the exception of my Knitcrate boxes. Just to be crystal clear, I am sent the yarn in these monthly subscription boxes for free in return for my honest opinion. I always post about them on my social media accounts. And if you look at the drop box down below, there's a link that explains the full details of the affiliate scheme. If you sign up to it, you get a discount, I get a bit of a kickback. All the details are down below. So my July and August Knitcrate boxes arrived about a week ago, I think, in September, because the post here is a bit crazy. And I gave Knitcrate the work address for the gym, but I had to put mail forwarding on for the gym to get the post sent to my house when we were all in lockdown. And there is a retreating grand pin. He's off to the gym to do weightlifting. So that's why everything was delayed, because it got rerouted from the gym to the house. Anyway, I did want to show you the yarn that was in them, because if you like them and you join in the Knit Tea Retreat Make Along, which I will be announcing details of soon, these yarns will be prizes. Okay, so the July Knitcrate is done in collaboration with Michelle of Stitch and Hustle. There she is. And I got 2 beautiful skeins of yarn along with a Tunisian crochet hook, which is a crochet hook attached to a cable with a stopper on the end. So yes, 2 lovely skeins. That's actually a pretty good colour representation. This is Uru yarn by Knitcrate. It's their cotton basic in collaboration with Stitch and Hustle. And the colourway is also called Hustle. It's 100% organic Pima cotton, a DK weight, 266 yards, which is 242 metres per 100 grams. And look at that. It is very gently tonal coloured, and it is really soft. I haven't knit very much with cotton. I knit a summer cardigan with Rowan cotton glacé years ago, which I still wear, and this feels much softer and smoother. So there's 2 skeins of that will be up for grabs. And then in the August box, the extra was this fun cork coaster, and this month's Knit Crate was in collaboration with Jewel Washington and Christy Bowden from Our Maker Life, and there's them. Each box comes with a little pamphlet thing which has lots of patterns in, which I'll obviously include. These are beautiful, absolutely gorgeous colour. It's like a sea glass colour. And this is Vidalana by Knitcrate Linen Jewel yarn in collaboration with Our Maker Life. And this colourway is called Oasis. It's 50% superwash merino, 30% linen, 20% silk, and it's a fingering weight yarn, 400 yards or 365 metres per 100 grams. And it does feel gorgeous. And that is a pretty good colour representation, and you can see that the silk gives it that little bit of drape and that shine as well. The sun is setting at the moment directly out of my dining room windows, so I think it's perfect light for showing yarn. These 2 skeins would be enough to make a water lily top, which is a pom-pom pattern, or a really lovely summer shawl. And I know we're just coming to the end of summer, but at the moment it's 25 degrees in Cardiff. I don't know what's going on. And I know that a lot of people that watch my podcast are all over the world, and maybe you live in warmer places than Wales. So yes, those were my free yarns from Knitcrate, and it's a monthly yarn subscription service, and you can choose sock yarn boxes or you can choose Knitcrate boxes, which might be a different weight of yarn. And you can also specify in advance if you have sort of colour preferences as well. So yes, keep an eye on my social media for the Knit Tea Retreat Make Along, and you could be in with a chance of winning one of these. I can't think that I've got very much of anything else to tell you about, I'm afraid. Oh yes, I have. If you are UK based, you will have heard of a magazine called The Knitter. And there's an interview with Jenny and I in The Knitter, all about our Cartref Yarn, which is our exclusive 100% Welsh yarn. It's our own blend. We drive up to the wool depot, source the fleece ourselves, get it spun in West Wales, and then hand dye it ourselves. And it's a lovely mix of Welsh mule and Blueface Leicester. And we fairly recently, back in April, launched our 4-ply. We started with a DK weight and introduced a 4-ply, and The Knitter were really interested to do a feature on it. So I think that magazine goes on sale this week in the UK. I can't remember the issue number. Again, I'll see if I can snag a photo off their Instagram of the front cover so you know what to look for. You can find it in supermarkets and WH Smiths, and you can, subscribe to it as well. And they did ask us if it would be all right for their international magazines to use the interview and our images of the yarn as well, and we said yes, of course. So if you get The Knitter in the States or elsewhere around the world, maybe keep an eye out for Cartref Yarn. That was quite exciting. But yeah, I think that's kind of it. I'm heading into work today. I've got to take an order to the post office, and then I've got to do lots of hoovering and cleaning and spraying of things. We are still in the grips of coronavirus in Wales, and they've recently introduced some more rules about households. No more than 6 people can meet indoors at any one time at the moment. And given that we are a family of 5, obviously that's a bit restrictive in terms of seeing family. My mum's come down for a couple of days, thank goodness, because Dave and I are so busy at work. So she's been just being around at home for the kids before and after school, and trying to help me keep on top of my endless mountains of laundry. But it did mean that my dad couldn't come down as well, because then that would make 7 of us, and that's not allowed. And people are starting to talk about maybe a second wave, potential future lockdowns again. So really we have to make as much money as we can at work at the moment, just in case it all goes south again. But other than that, we are all fit and well, a little bit tired, and I think that's kind of it. So thank you very much for watching. I'm so sorry I couldn't sit down and talk to you properly, but hopefully this is better than not seeing me at all, even though this is late. So if you've enjoyed watching, please give me a thumbs up, leave me a comment down below, and I will be back in 2 weeks' time with some new cast-ons. So look after yourselves, and I will see you soon.